Okay, this is for the record. This is in the case of the state versus Freddy Price. The events preceding August 31st, 2018. My name is Dan Dorfman, investigator for the San Andreas State Police District Attorney's Office. And for the record, sir, would you state your name, please?
Full name including middle name?
Yes, please.
Jeffrey fucking Connors.
All right, Mr. Connors. Is that okay? Mr. Connors, and where do you? Can you tell us a little bit about your business, your place of employment?
At the moment, I am a part-time skydiving instructor for Greenwell Skies. I also own and operate my own multi-purpose company called Phoenix Corporation.
Great, thank you, Mr. Connors. And just for the record, I also want to ask you, at this interview, you're giving of your own free will. You're not giving this under any kind of coercion or under duress.
Yep, free will, 100%.
Great. And also, Mr. Connors, you understand that at any time, if I ask a question that you do not wish to answer, or you feel like you need to seek legal representation or an attorney, you have the absolute right to do so. Do you understand that?
All right, yes, I understand.
Okay, perfect. All right, so why don't we start a little bit at the as you guys approach the ammunition store there off of Elgin Avenue and Adams, and kind of walk me through those events, if you would.
All right, well, I was in the car with myself, Wayne Wesson, who is a member of the Phoenix Corporation.
That's the coffee guy, right? The guy that you had get
coffee?
Me a cup of the guy you had me get me a cup of coffee.
Yes, okay. That is correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very hard worker, that guy. And also Wendy Sheeler, who is at the moment second in command of the Phoenix Corporation. We were pulling into the parking lot there. There was a Secure-Serve vehicle. As I got out of the truck to walk into the store,
out, guys.
Mr. Price, Tony Corleone, Michael Lemonade, and Zeke Anderson walked out. I walked past them, didn't pay them no mind, you know. At this point in time, both Wendy and Wayne had gotten out of the car. Freddy approached the car. I turned around. I didn't hear what he said when he approached. I was out of earshot. I came back around to make sure that he wasn't trying to start anything. And when I got there, Freddy Price was insulting the company, the car, both the workers, et cetera, et cetera. So I kind of took over and started to talk to him and just say, Freddy, you know, now is not the place. If you want to talk about it over a beer, we can go talk about it over a beer. At which point he kept saying that I was a, quote, teeny bopper and my company was a joke, et cetera, all these things. I kept kind of taking the high road. I didn't really give into the bait that he was giving. At one point I said that, you know, at least Miss Fanny Pudding was on my side, which I figured would have agitated him a little bit. When he, I'd say about 5 minutes into the conversation, he turned away from me and I said, Freddy, I want you to know that I don't think it's your fault. A classic Good Will Hunting move. Have you ever seen that movie?
Yeah,
Telling
actually,
them it's not their fault over and over again?
Yeah, that's a really, really good one. That usually,
yes, it is.
It usually gets a pretty strong response.
Yep, and I told him everything that happened, it wasn't his fault, which, for the record, is a complete lie. Everything that happened regarding me and Fanny leaving Secure-Serve was 100% Freddy's fault. But I told him it wasn't his fault, and he said, oh, maybe it is, Jeff. And I said, it's not your fault again. Again, Good Will Hunting him. And then at which point he said, maybe it is again, and then he swung a baseball bat at my face. The bat hit, I stumbled back, I pushed him away for a second, he ended up taking a second swing, hit me in the head. I fell to the side of the car. Zeke Anderson ran forward and hit Wendy Sheeler in the head with a nightstick, I believe. At which point, Wayne Wesson, who was standing atop of the truck, jumped down and began to swing wildly at all the SecuroServe members in defense, and ended up hitting Mike Lemonade, incapacitating Mike Lemonade as well.
All right. And
When it was all said and done, oh, sorry, good.
I was going to say, so you had a baseball bat that was wielded by Mr. Price, and you said a nightstick
Yep.
by Zeke Anderson. What was what did Mr. Wesson have in his hands?
Wesson always carries around a baseball bat.
Okay, and was his baseball bat different than the? Could you describe the baseball bat that Mr. Wesson carries with him?
It's his own personal private bat. He has a couple things etched into it. I know that. He doesn't do anything with it unless I give the direct order to, or I get attacked, obviously. But
of course, minus that little incident he had with the where he was fighting the newspaper stand that one day. I think I texted you about that to give you the heads up.
Yeah, that was a mess.
He had a kind of a lapse of judgment there.
Maybe I'm assuming, I don't know the full details, but I'm assuming maybe it like ate his change or something, and he just went apeshit.
Yeah,
but
it did. It was a quarter, and he could have called the company, and I mean, hell, I'd have given him a quarter, but shit.
Yeah, well, you're usually the one asking for change.
Yeah. Anyhow, so he's got a couple of marks that he's got. Can you tell me what those marks are?
The marks are, I actually don't know. I have not inspected his I've never inspected his bat that closely. He just said that he's able to tell his bat apart from others because of things that are on the bat.
Okay. When he left the hospital that night, do you know if he had the bat on him still?
I don't think so. I got hit in the head twice with a baseball bat, so
yeah.
Like directly after, I don't know if he dropped it on scene or not. What happened on scene, I remember, but I was kind of like focusing on certain things that were happening, right? I wasn't like fully aware of my surroundings.
I completely understand. Because there were two bats on the scene and we recovered one. I have the forensics lab looking at it right now, but it would be helpful to understand whether or not that bat may have been one that belonged to Mr. Price, or if that was a bat that belonged to Mr. Wesson. But just telling me that there are kind of unique marks on it, I'll make sure I follow up with Mr. Wesson and ask him about the bat, so we know which bat we have.
That would have been... Well, Freddy fled the scene, right? Freddy never dropped his bat.
Okay. So if he fled the scene, it was probably Wayne's bat then. Okay, that's helpful. Good.
Yeah.
All right. Did you lose consciousness at the scene? Or
no, I didn't.
You did not. Okay. Did you, as you were focusing on kind of what happened, said Mr. Price fled the scene. What about Mr. Anderson?
Mr. Anderson also. So what happened was, after everyone was kind of down and the initial swinging was done and over with, there was a pile of people on the ground. Freddy Price backed the SecuroServe car up and actually hit Tony Corleone. Which point Tony Corleone was incapacitated as well.
Right.
He then backed the truck up trying to pick up Michael Lemonade. They continued to try to pick up Mike Lemonade. However, every time they got him in the trunk, he instantly fell out. Freddy then gave the order to grab me instead and take me, which they were unable to do so. So eventually they got in the truck and they drove away without taking anybody.
Okay, I see. So Mr. Anderson, then, he was not rendered unconscious at all or incapacitated. So the nightstick that he had
I don't believe
is,
anybody on scene was incapacitated. Like, I don't think anyone on scene was unconscious.
okay. Then was Mr. Lemonade? Did he have his nightstick out?
No, actually, Michael Lemonade, when the fighting started, actually hurled his body towards the middle of the scene and knocked everybody over. He was trying to stop it.
I see. Interesting. Okay. Does Mr. Corleone have any kind of relationship with SecuriServe?
Way back when, Mr. Corleone was part of a gang called the Lean Boys, which I'm sure you're familiar with.
Yeah, I've heard the stories. I think I did a couple of news stories on them when I first got into town.
Right. Them and SecuriServe were pretty much mortal enemies. They would constantly, go at one another. Obviously, Lean Boys did stuff like rob banks. SecuriServe at the time protected banks. Lately, it seems like everything is kind of mellowed out. Mr. Corleone, I believe, has changed a lot since then, and he seems to be rather neutral with everybody. Him and I never used to get along, but now we do. I think I saw him and Mr. Price talking beforehand at the pizza thing. I think Mr. Price was trying to secure a contract for security at Mr. Corleone's pizza shop. I don't think that there's any recent issues with I don't think there's any recent issues between Mr. Corleone and SecuriServe.
So, when you saw Mr. Corleone at the, with Mr. Price, was Mr. Corleone sort of was he just happened to be there and kind of sat back and watched this whole thing kind of go down, or do you think?
I believe so. Yeah, his Lambo was on the scene, so I think he was just there.
So he wasn't just. It wasn't like he came over with the SecuriServe guys and.
No.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
He was recording the initial conflict. I don't think he was afterwards though. So I don't. You'd have to check with Mr. Corleone if he has a recording of the incident.
Roger. All right. Will do. Let's see. Pardon me. I'm just kind of looking through the. Now, when Mr. Price struck you, did he strike you in the to the front, or was it? Did he come at you from the back or the side?
It was two swings, both to the left side of the face with a baseball bat. From the front.
And that was the beginning of this whole altercation.
Yeah, that started the whole, I guess, security brawl, if you will.
Like the security Thunderdome.
Yeah, there you
go. Okay, and then when did were you aware when Mr. Wesson was rendered unconscious, or I'm sorry, was rendered knocked down, kind of out of the fight?
I believe it was Zeke. Or it was either Zeke or Freddy.
Okay.
Mike didn't draw a weapon.
All right. So Mike's actions in this was sort of.
He was
trying
to tackle everyone to stop it.
It sounds like he had some torn loyalties, because I know he's been rather influenced by Mr. Price, but he has a close relationship with you.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Did Mr. Price address Mike at all during this exchange?
I can't really recall if there was a lot of yelling going on during the actual swinging and all that. Afterwards, like I said, he was trying to get Mike in the trunk, but he was mostly yelling at Zeke.
How would you characterize your relationship with Zeke after you left SecuraServe?
Confusing.
How so?
I don't really have any other way to describe it. It's complex. Like we trash talk each other's companies. He's my blood related uncle, so it is confusing.
I see. So this whole thing is kind of intermixed of family and family kind of being torn apart. Then is that a fair characterization?
In a way, yeah.
And what about Miss Wendy? Did you see who ended up knocking her down?
I believe that would be Zeke. Yeah, that would have been Zeke.
All right. Okay. Is there anything else about the incident over there at the pillbox that stood out to you that you think might be important as I continue to question? I mean, I think the bat thing is really important, and understanding that was likely Mr. Wesson's bat. We should be able to confirm that.
Yeah, Freddy Price would have. I don't know where his bat would have gone, but he would have driven away with it. Wayne's bat was, I believe, used to take down Mike the Lemonade. I don't know if that was intentional. I think he was trying to hit Freddy.
Right.
Mr. Wesson's job entails protecting me, so if somebody were to hit me, he would, try to take them down.
Right. I completely understand that. I mean, I feel like in the description of the events, it sounds to me like Mr. Wesson was acting in defense, and certainly there were already assaults with a deadly weapon going on. So, frankly, I'm amazed that guns didn't get pulled and people get shot. To be honest with you.
I'm glad for that, but I honestly feel like it's. I mean, that could have saved a lot of issues further down the line, considering if Mike never got incapacitated, I don't think Mr. Price would have stormed the hospital with a shotgun.
Yeah. Which brings me back to the hospital incident. So, were you under medication when you were at the hospital? Any kind of narcotics or pain relief?
Aside from the whatever they give you on transport, I had my head bandaged and stuff. I hadn't taken anything. They maybe like whatever the paramedic gave in terms of morphine. I mean, I recall everything.
Okay.
I was chained to the I was handcuffed for questioning, obviously, after the incident.
Sure.
To
And you can understand coming on the scene and seeing a whole bunch of people rendered like that, with various types of wounds from blunt instruments and things like that.
Right.
The police really don't know what they're walking into at that point.
Right. Yeah. No. I think probably just a bit of morphine there. But I was standing up and handcuffed to a bed, waiting for the police to come speak to me. when Mr. Price ran in.
And when Mr. Price ran in, did he say anything at the time that he?
I don't think he saw me.
Okay, he didn't see you.
So when you enter that area, to the left, or like right in front of the front door, there's a bed.
Correct.
To the left, there is another bed.
Yeah.
And then to the right is where like the main, all the beds are, right? The 8
Right.
or whatever beds are there.
As it goes down towards the window, that's all the way down at the the east end. Yeah.
So when he ran in, then the bed directly across from the door, Wendy was laying in that, handcuffed to that bed. I was handcuffed to the bed on the left. And then he ran right in and went straight for the beds on the right where Mike was.
Okay. And
I don't think he saw me, or
was he wearing a
didn't say
mask
anything either, so.
at the time that he ran in?
I mostly saw the back left and the back of his head. He was definitely wearing a helmet, and I couldn't really recall seeing any skin, but I can't say for certain.
Would you characterize the clothing attire that he wore similar to SecuriServe uniform?
It is similar to SecuriServe tactical gear, which is similar to what is essentially SWAT gear.
All right, so he came dressed for business. Now, was he wearing that same type of outfit, that same type of gear?
He had been wearing that. He had been wearing that all day.
Okay, so it was something that he typically would run around in while he was doing security work, potentially, depending on the job.
Usually, yes.
Okay. All right. So after he runs in and he goes over to Mike. Did you see Trooper White arrive in the hospital in that area?
After Freddy ran in?
Yeah.
Yeah. About 5, maybe 10 seconds after Freddy ran in, Trooper White came in with an assault rifle and started shouting at Freddy to drop the gun.
All right. Did Freddy have did he have the firearm in his hands, or was it on his back?
Believe it was in his hands.
And was this a kind of like a standard issue 12 gauge pump shotgun, or was it a sawn?
Yeah,
Okay.
it was just I need to stretch my legs for a second.
Yeah, sure thing. Yeah, grab yourself a glass of water or anything if you need.
All good, all good. Am I allowed to check my text messages here? Because it's been like blowing up the last couple seconds.
No, go for
here.
it. Go for it. We can take a little tiny break if you need to make a few phone calls. Good stuff, huh? Let's say hypothetically I have a car filled with bricks of oregano and I'm working as a tow driver. Could I then hypothetically refill the oregano caches?
I'm good.
Okay, good. All right, so we were at Trooper White. Now, it's been described to me that Trooper White came in, and if over here is where Freddy was kind of through those doors, if you imagine through that opening, Trooper White was kind of in a position somewhat like this, and speaking with Mr. Price. Would that be correct?
He actually came in with his how do I explain it? He came in with his gun pointed and raised and ready, and he ran in here, went back there, kind of saw where he was, took a step back. He was pointing his gun at him the whole time, went back here, and then kind of cut it back across, and then told him to drop the gun.
Okay.
So he ran in, kind of like, and he kept yelling at him to drop the gun, and I don't think Mr. Price was complying.
Right. Okay. That makes sense then. So as he identified where Mr. Price was, and no doubt he was, I'll be talking to him soon, so I'll find out what was going through his mind at the time. But you did observe him up against the wall like that, and he was asking Freddy to comply.
Yep.
Put down the gun.
Yes.
Let's talk about this.
Yep.
What was Freddy? Was Freddy making any demands?
Not that I heard. Well, I think before he yelled something about I'm just grabbing Mike and leaving. Like he thought that he was in there to basically save Mike. Mike said that afterwards to me as well. That Mr. Price thought he was in there to quote save Mike.
I see. And what was he? What did he feel like he was trying to save Mike from? Just
The police.
the police potentially.
Yeah.
Okay. At what point in time did the medics take you out of that room? When did they clear that area and move you to safety?
It was shortly after I believe Trooper Hotchkiss arrived, and Trooper White was still yelling at Freddy to comply, put down the gun, talk about it, etc., etc. And Trooper Hotchkiss then uncuffed me. I ran towards the door. She then went and uncuffed Wendy as well, and then we went to the lobby of the hospital. And from there, I have no idea what happened.
Did you hear any gunshots at the time that during the conversation between Mr. Price and Trooper White?
Not that I can recall.
Okay. And I guess later, during the after you were safe in the lobby, then the order was given to take you guys out to Mission Row, where you'd be secured until the hospital was cleared. Is that right?
Sorry, repeat that.
Excuse me. After you guys were safely in position in the lobby. Shortly thereafter, the decision was made to move you again to Mission Row. Is that right? For your safety, while the hospital.
Yeah, very shortly after we were in the lobby. Trooper Hotchkiss, I believe, ran back and told the medics to take us to Mission Row.
Okay.
In the ambulances.
Okay, great. Did you at all at any time observe Mr. Anderson come into the hospital or come back into the back area?
No, I didn't see him at all.
Okay. Have you seen Mr. Anderson since?
Yes.
And do you know is Mr. Anderson still employed by SecuroServe?
Yes.
Okay. All right, Mr. Connors, I think that's going to wrap up the questions that I have for you. In combination with the statement that you gave to the police, I think that gives me that clears up quite a few things. I really appreciate your time. Is there any questions that you have for me?
The arraignment is tomorrow, I believe, right?
That's correct. So tomorrow is when Mr. Price will get his opportunity in front of the judge to declare himself guilty, not guilty, or plead no contest. I expect he's going to enter a not guilty plea, or he's going to enter some other imaginative expletive in front of the court.
I would imagine. Is myself and my company allowed to go to this arraignment tomorrow?
Yeah, I would imagine that you would be able to go. I believe it is going to occur at. They write all these things in Eastern time. I think it's around 5 Eastern time. But if you want to reach out to the district attorney just to make sure, I think it's at 5 Eastern time is what he told me today.
I'll double check. Yeah.
But yeah, you'd be free to come and sit in the gallery. I mean, it's once all of the court participants are made available, to their positions, then I think the public can come in, especially those that are invested in this case, like such
We're
as yourself.
involved, yeah.
Now, there won't be any need for you tomorrow to testify or anything like that. I'm sorry, it's 8 p.m. Eastern time. 5. I'm thinking, if I were out here in the West.
Okay, yeah, that's what I had heard.
So,
I was just double checking.
Yeah, 8 p.m. Eastern time. That would be 5 in the West. So what I was going to say is it should not be any need for anyone to testify. It's really the arraignment is, guilty. It's his opportunity to face the charges, to hear the charges that are presented to him, and for he and his attorney to enter a plea, and then that'll start the process of moving towards trial. As far as my work here, I'm really trying to get because of the number of witnesses and the fact that we have two primary crime scenes involved in this case. I'm just trying to get ahead of the paperwork a little bit. It's a lot of paperwork, a lot.
No, I understand. It was an eventful night.
Yeah. Great. Well, Mr. Connors, just one last thing here. So, if called to testify, would you, time willing, and all of that, would you be available?
Yeah, I wouldn't need a lawyer for that, right? That'd just be if I wanted to come testify?
That's correct. You would not need a lawyer for that, but, if you wanted to have one, if you felt like, you certainly have the right to have one if you feel so inclined. But typically, you would take the witness stand yourself.
I probably would. Yeah, I probably would. I'm gonna double check with my lawyer if I should or not.
Right. And just just in case if your attorney is the same one that's representing Mr. Price, there could be a conflict of interest there, so you may have to seek additional legal,
I don't think that'll be a problem.
Facility. Okay. All right. And the last thing I wanted to ask you real quick is, do you mind? I would like to talk to Mr. Wesson and also Wendy, Miss Schiller. Sheeler? Is it Sheeler or Scheller?
Yeah, I can call them down. Are you gonna be in the city for a while? Because we have that motocross event thing we're actually providing security for.
Why don't you guys take care of the motocross thing tonight, and then I'll just try to talk to them. Probably it's gonna be Wednesday night, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, does that work?
Sounds good with me.
Okay, good.
Yep.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you, Dan.